Hi, welcome again to the Louise YouTube channel, filmed from the Louise Gallery and Studio in Buxton in Derbyshire. Thank you for watching and thanks for returning if you've seen other videos. If you have seen other videos, you'll know from them that my work is really based on learning through practice, learning through actual experimentation and through the process. And each time I sort of stretch things, you learn how the paint works with papers and how you can manipulate the papers and the mediums and the paints to suit something that you may have discovered, a particular reaction between the mediums that works really well for you, for your practice. And I'm sharing all this with you. I'm sharing the process and the development and showing you the sort of things that I've discovered. I've been doing the momigami and the paper making and the geometry ideas for a few weeks now, and I've been sharing these ideas with you, but this week I found other things which I'm sure you're going to really like, so I'm really excited about this and excited about sharing it with you. Well, let's go. Enjoy. But this just makes it so simple and there's so many ideas. It's just this tissue paper and the cellulose paste. You can use other pastes. I'll put them in the description below. Things that have an antifungal stuff in. I mean, wallpaper paste has an antifungal bit in it, which you can use when you, say, do dried flowers or leaves or even non-dried flowers and press them between paper so that they don't go off. But you can also buy a powder. I'll see if I can find that as well, that you can add to things. I actually bought some. And I'm trying to do things so that the people who really want to do the more traditional stuff, the more craft stuff, there's something for you. And then I've also gone on and done much more abstract stuff, and I'll keep them separate a bit so that you don't have to go through the abstract stuff if you don't like it, and you don't have to go through the more traditional crafty stuff if you don't like that. But everything can be combined and can be mixed in whatever way you want. Right, enjoy. Back to my old table, my lovely full setup. What's really important with this is the use of this Florist cellophane. I've put it in other descriptions and other videos, but you can see it produces a lovely flat surface on which to work from. And that's really important. Also, it's not a waste. You can keep reusing it. So I cut off the size of the paper I'm going to use, and then I spray it with a bit of water and I stick the paper or fabric down so that it's dead flat. And that way you can get really even spreads of paint rather than it sort of falling into ruckles as tissue papers and things tend to do. So I'm just going to cut a piece. Right, you can just get your piece of tissue paper. I think the best thing to do is to lightly spray it with water. Then get it down and just see if you can spread it from the middle out. So before you even start, you begin the stretching process of this paper, because otherwise it just ruckles so much. Okay, so that'll do. Also, when you apply the cellulose glues, that obviously helps to keep it down, and if you do it from the middle outwards, you're more likely to keep it flat. But this is just for this next process. And again, if you apply paint to it, then apply it from the middle outwards. Look, it's already going ruckly. So obviously it has to be a part of the whole thing. You know, you have to enjoy it. I'm sure you've all seen this before. You just get lovely serviettes. Now, I don't want that border, although it is quite nice. You could use it. No, I will put the border on one. And I'm just going to take off that border, and if you tear it you get a softer edge. But I'm not too bothered. I just want that border rid. Okay, so what I want to do really is to get those whole lovely little dragonflies and no border. Then you go in and you separate it off so you get the ply. Right, so generally these serviettes, they have got 3 ply in them. So you want the 2 plies from the back off, because then the actual colour is on both sides of the paper. And it's just lovely. It looks so beautiful when it's stuck down onto tissue paper, and makes lovely papers for a batch of 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it's 20, but that will make tons and tons of papers. I'm going to do 2 because I'm going to get them ready. And these ones, I'm going to find a space where they actually fit together really nicely, so that I want them both facing upwards, so that these dragonflies will sit inside those spaces. I'll show you. So you take, I want the edge off, and see here where it's really tight, I'll cut round there. And as you can see, I am not neat, so cut round that. And what I want to show you is that when you stick it down, you see, you can keep the borders together, but you can overlap these slightly and fill those gaps in, you see, and you don't lose the continuousness of it. I mean, you can even patch those with bits of tissue paper. So I need to separate this off again, which is a bit tedious for you to watch, so I won't make you watch. So that's 1 ply. I've only got 1 ply off there. So I have to get the other ply. And if you rip any of the dragonflies, it really doesn't matter, because you can cut one out and stick it in its place. So there you go. Right, I've now got 2, which are going to sit together like so. And I could go for 3. So I'm just going to get my piece of paper back. There's my glued tissue paper. Get your lovely dragonfly paper and try and get it down as flat as you can. Smear it down to the edges. And now this is when, do not over rub it, because it just tears. And get your other one. Make sure it's the same way up. See if you can get those edges to line up a bit. Your nice little, and then pop it over. And then you can just very gently pop it down with a soft brush. And there you have a lovely sheet of paper you can use in your journals of lovely little butterflies, of dragonflies. If you have a patch there that's not complete, you can get a little piece of your paper. Again, make sure it's just single ply, and just pop it on, and there you go. And you can even do that with other dragonflies. Like if there's a place you've missed, just get a piece of tissue paper and stick it down over it, and it really won't matter. It doesn't show. And do not over rub it, because I'm terrible for all that. Won't leave things alone. Okay, so there's 1 piece done out of 2 pieces of tissue paper. Don't throw these away. These are fantastic. The plies that you've separated, these are lovely additions to your toolbox, so don't throw them away. Right, put that to one side to dry. And I'll just show you. I did a lovely one with butterflies, so there's another one. And these were from these beautiful little numbers. And I'm going to be supplying all these on my website. So it's the www.louisejanetta.co.uk, and go to the art supplies page. So there's that one. There's also this one. So these were these tissue papers. So they arrived like so. in packets like so, folded over. And I realised that if you unfold them and then fold them in half, I didn't know this when I bought them, but they are exact opposites. So you just get your scissors and cut round them. And again, you don't have to be precise. I didn't cut. I cut off the antennae because that was obviously too complex, and I can draw in the antennae if I want to. But what you end up with once you've finished is 2 butterflies, but also once you've separated them out, you have 2 plies for each butterfly, so that will be 4 altogether of plain tissue paper butterflies, and I'll show you can actually use them as well in the end, so nothing is wasted. So then you've got your 2 butterflies, look. I mean, that one's got a bit of white left on it. You don't even have to get rid of that, but I am, because I really like how these look when they're just the black edges on them. So you can just trim that, but it's extremely quick, this. And then you separate them off. The best thing to do is to peel away on the side that's printed. Just fiddle with them until you get them away. Some of these came away really easily. There you go, so you've separated off, and you'll see that when you pull it apart, it comes away pretty easily. Just watch tearing on the corners, but I mean, if it tears, it doesn't really matter. And away it comes, and you've got the ply tissue and your butterflies. Whoops, I don't want that on there. This piece has already been done quite a bit. The tissue paper has been laid down onto the cellophane again. You just cover it with glue. Oh, it is so lovely, it's so quick. And then you just lay your butterflies on, and I alternate them so that one is facing up, you know, so that the pattern is facing up, so that it's not all dense on one side, and then you just touch it down again with your paintbrush just to stick it down, and also to get a bit of glue onto it. So that was that way up. I now want that this way up. Okay, and touch it down. Oops, that's a bit too much glue. And another one. So try and sort of arrange them so that they look nice as well, you know, in terms of composition. That one, that way. And I'm extending them over the edge so that it's almost like a continuous repeat when I've finished. I think I want that one that way. Whoops. And you can lift them slightly, but you have to be so careful, because as soon as this tissue paper gets wet, the actual serviette paper gets wet, it becomes incredibly delicate. Right, aren't they lovely? They are so effective, aren't they? And I've got half a butterfly there. Oops, a daisy. So I'm just gonna see if I can cut him off, because I don't mind using him just coming over the edge somewhere. I haven't got enough on there, I don't think. So I'm just going to pop that on there. There we go. And then it just fills the paper up a bit more. Got one more there. See, go that way. I'm using it all up as much as I can. Okay, and the last one down there, if I can get the ply off. Right, just separated the last one off. It's so satisfying when that happens. And then just put the last one in there. Let's see. I think like so. And then just touch it over with the glue. Oops. And there's a bit left over there again. I'm just going to use this edge because I don't want to waste them for a start, but also I've got a couple of bits that I feel could do with an extra bit. So there, just make it look like there's a butterfly on the peripheries of the paper. Right, so you just take that off and let it dry, and you have this really beautiful paper, don't you? Just to show you, this is a pretty mucky piece of cellophane, sorry, I just can't find a clean piece. But what you also have when you separate off the butterflies from your tissue paper is loads of lovely butterflies. So if you just sit them on cellophane, because once they're wet you just can't handle them. You know, they just tear far too easily. And then you just get colours. I mean, this is really, really rough, but look, you can just add colour into your lovely butterflies. And this is just acrylic that's been watered down, and you just pop it on your butterfly, and you can keep the colour combinations. You can make them bright and cheery like these ones here. You can add design to them. You can make them all one colour and then add design on top of it. They're just lovely. They're such a lovely thing. And then what you do is you just, oh, it's because there's pigment at the bottom of that thing, bottom of the pot. But what you do is you just leave them until they dry, and then you can apply them to papers, can't you? I'm just going to give that one a bit of design just to show you. So you can just touch over the edges, and if you keep it wet, you can just double it on and it soaks through the lovely tissue paper. Look, isn't that pretty? And then, of course, now you've discovered this, you just keep going and going and going until until your imagination fails you, don't you? Aren't they lovely? And then you can put lovely veins in it as well if you want to. And you can be a great deal more careful than I have been. I must admit, I am not particularly careful with this sort of thing. But that is so effective, isn't it? You've got your own little butterflies, tons and tons of them. As many as you want and however you like them. Calling out for a little eye, isn't it? There we go. And then even... They're adorable, aren't they? Tell you, a light blue one would be beautiful, wouldn't it? Shall I try a light blue one just quickly? So there we go. I did have some light blue. I think this is probably too diluted. There's too much pigment still left on the paintbrush. And just let them dry. So while I was waiting for my butterflies to dry, I painted a piece of tissue paper. Again, I put it down on the cellophane, smoothed it over flat, and applied a thin, washed out coat of acrylic from the middle outwards, and you've got these beautiful colours. So again, I just really wanted to show you that you're not limited to these papers that the suppliers give you. This was just white or slightly off-white tissue paper, and this one, oh, this one's just beautiful. I hope you could see it because it's a mixture of blues and purples, and it was the way that the whole thing just creased on the cellophane that makes these lovely waves. And then of course you can apply these to this and you've got another fabulously bonkers fun piece of paper, the blue one as well. I mean, look, they're lovely. And even this one, which it was just very, very plain, is pretty. I might just do I'll do a couple on this green. So again, the best thing to do is to fix it down onto some cellophane first, because otherwise as soon as you move it you'll tear it, and then you just pop them down and smear them over with your brush. Oh my goodness me. I mean, they are so sweet. And this is just the leftovers of the other piece. I mean, I'm doing this fairly randomly. You can cut this out and reuse it, can't you? Oops. There you go. And then just put it somewhere safe. Another thing I did was start to paint very faintly onto the tissue paper. So I don't know if you can see, but there's some flowers and some leaves on that. And then I can either stick this down onto thin paper or onto my momigami paper that has been all made subtle and soft. And you end up with a sort of really faded out beautiful pattern. And again, this is up to you. This was all just painted in acrylics, everything was. I used watered down acrylics so that they're both light fast and permanent and don't move when I apply glues and stuff to them. So there's that. But you can also go very abstract and just create these beautiful pieces of paper which can then be layered and glazed and all sorts of other colours applied to it. So again, the world is your oyster. If you applied green onto this, should we just try it? I do quite like that actually. So you can just start layering this up and see what happens. They're just lovely, aren't they? And then repaint it. You can make a figurative type thing, or you can keep it abstract. It's up to you, isn't it? And I'll show you something else as well, because I think what's disappointing about these sometimes is that when they dry, they go very opaque, and I really like them when they're translucent. So I'm just going to show you another trick. I was looking for translucent papers and I was getting vellums, which I think is some sort of tracing paper. I will have to order it and try it out. But what I did get was a lovely little video. It was like a kids' science thing, and it said that if you add oils to papers, it makes them translucent. So I'm just going to show you what it does do.